So not the best of choices, but it is a much easier transition, and protoss player can kind of just get that base early on and then work towards the corner. But vultures are going to be all over that. A lot of vultures across the map with speed before mines, actually. And they might do a lot of damage to the 3 o'clock position. No forge out there for Bisu. No cannons morphing. He's going to have to get some dragoons towards the 3 o'clock position to make sure he can defend it. Also has a very small choke now made for himself at his natural expo, so he's going to be able to defend that unless tanks bust those pylons down. Observer flying across the map, not spotting out those vultures. Finally, I think, no, Bisu not quite getting a spot on that. Meanwhile, just trying to fly inside the main, trying to get the spot on everything in there. But should be expecting some vulture attacks. The 3 o'clock position going to be extremely vulnerable. He has a lot of forces close to that, so might actually manage to defend it. Armory meanwhile up for C. Help him working on those upgrades. And Bisu doing at least a good job of getting the scout on everything. Has a dragoon with a bunch of pylons blocking in his natural expo. A lot of vultures rolling across the map. Going to be able to plant down mines. No observer for one I can see close by. Some of those maps, some of those mines going to pop out. Find an observer flying across all of these forces. So dragoons are actually going to clear this out. But tanks coming out here. Nice push from C. Sieging up. Vultures doing a great blockade. Only a few zealots with no speed. Not quite managing to get very good mine drags in. Even more mines going to be planted down. So Bisu looking like he's in a little bit of trouble. Marines also out there for C. Managed to pop down those pylons. But now finally Bisu going to manage to actually clear this up, killing all those vultures and coming in close to those tanks. Going to clear them out. Well, another tank here at the bank with a few vultures at the back here on the bank, I guess, with a few vultures to support. But Bisu clearing this out with actually minimal losses. Lost a few dragoons, lost a few zealots, but still managing to pump out a lot of troops. So he lost most of his entire assault force. All of his vultures went down, a lot of his tanks. So now we're going to see a fleet picking alongside a Stargate. Bisu going to transition to 3 base, kind of 2.5 base, I guess, carriers. C going to transition out to get that inside 3 o'clock position. I'm going to take a sip of my tea because my throat is dying. Oh, God, you need that. Warm, you know, some people drink just water, but I honestly, in my opinion, from my experience, tea is better. Warm or hot water, maybe not hot, but like really warm, nice tea temperature water is very good for you. Already has 1 Stargate out there. Did not see that. 2nd Stargate on the way. Fleet Beacon almost in, and a 3rd one. Don't see Bisu using carriers that often, really. Only when he knows he has the advantage and he knows he can push it. Then maybe he's gonna go for carries. But often enough, you see Bisu more as an arbiter player. Observer, meanwhile, gonna go in here, spot out this 3 o'clock position. He's gonna try to pressure this Bisu. Only a couple of siege tanks and 1 vulture, 1 mine. They're gonna be able to go down. Dragoon actually gonna sacrifice his life to take that mine, but Dragoons are not gonna be able to manage too much damage. Vultures are pressuring him a little bit too heavily, despite that observer support. Bisu going to be pushed back. Almost had C caught off guard there. Did manage to pick off one of those tanks, but almost managed to push it all the way down because there weren't that many forces there. But heads-up play for Bisu, and also heads-up play for C by getting those vultures in there in time to defend that. Bisu right now going very goon-heavy. So this is very reminiscent of Stork. Ooh! Very reminiscent of Stork, so kind of Borg power, ladies and gentlemen. Borg power. Bisu representing Stork here a little bit by going very heavy. Going very heavy on the goons and going carriers. So this is very, very much like something Stork would do. Maybe not as quick. Stork tends to, I believe, play a little bit safer when he tries to go for his carrier builds. Tries to get that 3rd gas going before he does that. But Bisu gonna just have his dragoons across the map and get his heavy carrier count. Still don't see a single Goliath out there for C. Putting down turrets all over the place, but still don't see a single Goliath. Bisu, meanwhile, going to expand towards the upper right-hand position. He's going to be able to control the entire north side of the map with his carriers and hopefully take battles across the middle. That 3 o'clock position, inside 3 o'clock position, going to be a very big target for Bisu. And if he manages to take that out and just continue that way, deny bases, keep C on 2, he's going to be in complete control. He just has to make sure that C doesn't get any decent harass off. That upper right-hand position going to be vulnerable. He did have a forge coming in, so at the very least he's going to be able to get some cannons there. But Vulture is going to be a heavy threat if he manages to prevent any harassment, manages to play safe, and deny these bases from C. There's going to be a good position, just working on his carrier count before he moves those out, working on his interceptors. C, meanwhile, is going to expand at that 3 o'clock position, get that 3rd gas going. Bisu has his own 3rd gas coming in a little bit earlier. But finally the carriers are going to come into play. He's going to have 3 carriers, not that many interceptors so far. So he's going to have to be very careful. A lot of mines all over the place from C, so he's doing a good job of, at the very least, keeping track of troop movement. Some mines being here at the 9 o'clock position going to get picked off. So C wants to know what Bisu is doing at all times. Not quite sure if he has the heads up on that upper right position. Cannon's already morphing in. warp it in, I'm sorry, but vultures are going to come in. Very heavy vulture count, so these cannons are actually not going to be able to prevent those vultures from doing some damage, but there are no probes there, and the next is going to stay. So a couple of probes are going to go down, but that's not really that heavy damage. Dragoons are going to follow up, and half of the vultures that were there were actually lost just to cannons. Also, finally starting to cannon up at this rocket position. No, he has to be very careful. And finally, we see that heavy zealot count. Carrier's now going to get spotted out. Not too large an interceptor count, but Bisu's going to be working on that. Going to be able to safely defend that rocket position with some nice pylon placement and some nice cannon placement. Double armories, meanwhile, out there for C. Going to work very heavily on upgrades. Does have weapons once. Finally has some Goliaths out there. But I'm hoping that he's not in position. I saw a game earlier. What was that? In a round of 32. Players slipped my mind. But yeah, Terran player just, when he manages to spot a little bit too late, manages to allow the protoss player to get a heavy number of those carries, going to be in a lot of trouble. There are a lot of goons, a lot of zealots out there for Bisu, only working off 6 gateways, still working on his carrier count. Has one carrier at this rocket position to actually help him defend, and finally going to move out with a few of those towards that, outside those 3 o'clock positions. There are Goliaths and turrets in place, though, mostly Goliaths, so that's going to force the carriers back. Bisu's going to have to use both his carriers and his ground force at the same time if he wants to do the damage. Still don't see his zealot count in that position. It has him kind of around the map, but if he goes for that, he might actually manage to break this. There are a lot of tanks, and of course the tanks behind the Goliaths. You want the carriers to pick off the tanks while the ground forces pick up the Goliaths. It's kind of hard because the Terran player, of course, positions himself, so that's going to be very hard to do. Meanwhile, the carriers are going to come in, engaging some of those tanks at the front, trying to fly back before the carriers get picked off, and they're doing a good job of barely staying alive, losing some interceptors. But now Bisu are actually going to go for full frontal attack. There are not that many Goliaths here at the front to blockade. Some of the zealots going to be able to get through, but most of them going to get picked off before they manage too much. Bisu actually sacrificing way too many zealots into that, but still managed to get a few shots off, trying to just distract those Goliaths, coming close with these Dragoons. Not too heavy at interceptor counts on those carriers, though. A lot of those interceptors being picked off. Dragoons just trying to mill in from the right side where they can kind of prevent from being shot by the tanks, but tanks still getting C-shots on those goons, and those Goliaths doing a great job of fighting back those interceptors, hoping that this decision to go carriers for Bisu does not come back to bite him, because he's not managing to penetrate this 3 o'clock position. C has tanks and Goliaths all over the place, a lot of supply depots to blockade those forces from running in, so really heads up from him. Bisu still does not have that critical number of interceptors on those carriers that he can basically fight